Enchanted Tiki Talk is brought to you by Kingdom Strollers. Our premium stroller and crib rentals are delivered straight to your Disney or Orlando area resort. It couldn't be easier. Book yours at kingdomstrollers.com. And Mouse Pros. Let our travel specialist plan your next vacation. Our concierge level service gives you the perfect hassle-free vacation. Get your free quote from Sean or any of our magical agents at mousepros.com. And now, it's show time!
Your attention, please. One show for you to see. One for you and everyone.
Oh, look at all the people. Pay attention, it's showtime.
I am always ready, as you say, to put on the show.
My goodness, you're all staring at us. We better start the show rolling.
Wait! We forgot to wake up the Glee Club.
Aloha. Come to the Tiki Room. Get your expialidocious tickets right here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Enchanted Tiki Talk. I am here with Matt this week. What's going on, Matt?
Just hanging out, man.
Yeah, me
Live
too.
the dream.
Oh, man. I'm so glad you're living the dream because I'm living a nightmare.
I'm actually, I'm kind of glad we had some storms roll through and the temperature and the humidity has actually calmed down for a little bit. So it's not, walk outside and melt into a puddle of butter right now. So I'm enjoying that.
Well, I'm glad you're cooling off.
It's not going to last. I mean, it's just kind of to get everybody a fake sense of fall or whatever, so they'll drop your guard down, and then probably this weekend it'll be back up to 100 degrees.
Right, so. Exactly. So Keith's not here this week. He's busy working, whatever Keith does. So we'll see him again probably next week.
He's doing that chef thing.
Yeah, chef. All right, so some interesting facts that I've come across about Disney, which I did not know. The original Dumbo ride featured a mouse brandishing a whip to make the elephants fly. Since then, the whip has been replaced with a magic feather. I did not know that.
Actually, now that you say that, I remember at one time there was a whip, but I guess I had forgot about it and just assumed that the feather was always there. That's interesting. I guess because of the whole animal cruelty thing that they took the whip out of play. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I don't even know in the movie, did he have a whip? It was always the magical feather, right?
I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen the Dumbo movie. My kids did not like the Dumbo, the cartoon, I should say. So yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to go watch it now because I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Another interesting fact that I came across was that I knew this, but I didn't know just the age. But the Prince Charming Regal Carousel was once located in the Olympic Park in Maplewood, New Jersey, which isn't too far from where I live, and it was built in 1917. I know that the carousel was in a couple other locations after that, but it has gotten around. But it's just amazing to think that's 100 years old. A 100-year-old attraction is still running. Was
the one in Disneyland, wasn't it famous from somewhere else too? It's not like that's something else I guess we'll have to research on, but yeah, to get on something that's been around for that long, it's kind of, I couldn't tell you the last time I got on that carousel, but it's kind of cool to stop and think that it's been there, operating for that long, and makes you wonder how many revolutions that thing is actually. Yeah. I would like to see how many times it goes around in a circle in a day.
Right, like that's I wonder if that's one of those things that we can ask WDW today, and they could tell us.
I mean, you would think for maintenance purposes, they've got some kind of a counter every time it goes around. So I would think that it would be something somebody somewhere is keeping track of. It's just whether or not they have they would have the general population to have access to it, or want to reveal that or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that'd be interesting to find out, because I wonder if it's. I'm sure it's had to have crossed 1 million in 100 years.
I think they would do that probably in a year or a couple years or so. I mean, you think as many times it goes around and it's working from just say 9 to 9, 365 days a year.
Right.
I bet it gets up there pretty quick.
Yeah, I would think, right?
Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I may be. Who knows? I just don't know. I don't know how many times you even go around when you're actually on it. 4 or 5 times, maybe. Well, probably more than that. So, yeah, I mean, it could be in the millions.
Yeah.
The Astro Orbiter, when it first opened in 1974, do you know what the original name was?
And it wasn't like Mission to Mars was where Stitch is now. I know Rocket Rods was in Disneyland. No, I can't remember.
Starjets.
Ah, yes. Now that you say that, I would have never remembered, but now that you say that, I remember maybe seeing a sign or something in a picture. But I think as long as I've been going, it's always been Astro Orbiter.
Yeah, I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever written the name when it was on there. But approximately how many people does the Walt Disney World Railroad serve per year?
Holy moly! Per year?
Yeah.
Let's go with 1.2 million.
Close, 1.5 million.
Wow. Okay, I was figuring I was going to be way under, but
no, I mean that's a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to picture how many it holds, and then now, granted, it's not always a full car every time it goes, but yeah, that's you think that's a lot of people that thing moves around.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you think about 1.5, that's a lot of people. I mean, because if that's the amount of people that are riding through on the train, how many people are coming into that park per year? You know?
Yeah, that's a hefty number.
Yes, it is. Do you know what speed you come down the hill on Splash Mountain?
I know that they advertise it as, I think he's at one time said 60 miles an hour, but I don't think it's really that fast. I'm going to say 45.
Close, 40.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Let's see, what else do I have here? What is the size of Andy's footprint in Toy Story Land?
Extra large.
Yeah, pretty much. 25 feet long.
Wow.
Which is the equivalent of size 240.
Let's see here. I could put on 24. I could put 24 of my feet in there.
One last thing was each president in the Hall of Presidents wears clothes made using the techniques of the time. So while George Washington's suit was hand sewn, George Bush's suit was stitched together by a sewing machine. That's pretty neat.
I never knew that. I mean, I knew you want to try and keep it, as close to that period, but I never knew that they actually went as far as that. How it was tailored and everything. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And actually, the last one I'm going to talk about is that I didn't know this, but the steam engines on the Disneyland Railroad are fueled by old French fry oil.
So that's why it smells so good. That's why they get so many people on the train. They're like, oh, French fries.
I didn't know that.
No, I figured it ran on, your typical steam and coal and everything. I didn't know that it would. I guess in California it's a little different with all the admissions and all the different requirements you got to have over there. So.
Yep. All right. So with that, let's take a quick break.
At the Disney MGM Studios, your day can take any direction.
Action! Let's take it from the top! That was hot! Now give me all you got!
The Disney MGM Studios, where showbiz is.
All right, we're back from break here. So this week on Enchanted Tiki Talk, we're going to talk about some of those things that you should not do at Walt Disney World. We know about things that you should do, like spend money, eat food. But what things shouldn't you do in Walt Disney World? Matt, what do you think is something that you shouldn't do in Walt Disney World? And I know you wanted to say run around Main Street USA nude, but I don't think that's the right thing to say.
Well, I mean, you definitely don't want to do that because you're not going to be coming back anytime soon.
That's true.
I think as much as I would like to go and try and do this, I think that going and just kind of freelancing everything and walking up and just taking whatever attraction is a short wait, and you're basically not going to be able to get into anywhere that's a sit-down restaurant. So going with no plans is probably the worst thing you could probably do, other than running down Main Street naked.
Yeah, I guess pretty close to that. I mean, you should plan in advance. I mean, you don't necessarily have to plan at 180 days out for dining, but I don't think you should just be like, okay, today's Wednesday, and be like, okay, let's fly down to Disney World tomorrow, and let's go eat at Chef Mickey's and Ohana's. That's just not going to happen for the most part. So, I mean, you are going to have to plan to some extent. Whether I think you probably more so than anything, you have to lower expectations when you're trying to book something last minute.
Yeah, there was a guy in my neighborhood I was actually talking to, and he had made mention that him and his family were thinking about going down to Disney, and he said he quickly realized that it's not a, let's drive down this weekend and figure out what we're going to do when we get there. He's like, I'm looking at least 6 to 9 months before we even start getting to go on the trip. And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of the way it is now. You can't just drive down there and do things on a whim anymore. I mean, if you're on your own, you could probably get away with it, but going as a family, it's not going to work.
And also sticking with that topic, I would say, you can't expect that you're going to do everything when you're in Disney.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's just not possible unless you're coming from the UK and you plan to stay there for 2 weeks. But the average American family, they're going to go down for 5 to 7 days on average. They're not going to go much more than that. It's going to be closer to 5 than it is probably to 7, I would guess. And they're probably going to do 1 day in each park, and maybe they'll do one more of their favorite park after that, or maybe hit a water park. But even if you have, if you're doing those 5 days, chances are you're not going to hit every single attraction that you wanted to, especially depending on the time of year that you go. So if you're there on 4th of July or Christmas, the chances of you doing all the major headliners are probably slim to none.
Yeah, and even the people that have gone down and done the challenge at the Magic Kingdom where they do every attraction in 1 day, just following them on social media, it's exhausting to me. So I couldn't imagine going down there with that kind of expectation. I mean, I can understand if you haven't been there before and you're thinking, oh, well, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot. We can knock this out. But then once you get there and you see what all is involved with it, it's very unrealistic to try and do something like that.
Yeah, it's true, because if you really look at it, Magic Kingdom's got the most attractions, we know that. And if you look at Epcot's got, I don't know, offhand 7 attractions, 8 attractions, whatever it is. But at Epcot itself, there's a lot of walking involved. Yeah. So you might go do Soarin' and then want to go do the Frozen ride, and then you do the Frozen ride, and then you're like, you got to go over to Germany. So you got a little bit of a walk to go over to Germany, and then you realize, we forgot to go do Nemo and Friends. So now you're walking back over to Nemo Friends, and that's if you take the long way, it's like 1.5 miles or 1.2 miles. So you're going to pack on a lot of steps, and you're going to burn through your shoe soles to do if you're trying to do everything there. It's hard.
And just for instance, Epcot, I feel pretty safe saying that the attractions they have in that park usually have some of the longer lines consistently. Right. So, even if you were to figure out how not to crisscross back and forth and hit everything, you're going to be standing in line a lot longer than what you probably think you would be doing as well.
Right, exactly.
So I know everybody goes on vacation and you want to kind of rest and relax and everything. And there's time for that at Disney, but it's not when everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to sleep in, they're on vacation, and, kind of get up and have a leisurely breakfast and then go hit the parks. And that doesn't work. You tell me
I can't sleep in Disney?
You can sleep in Disney. You can find you a nice park bench once you've used your fast passes in the morning. You can go back to your room in the afternoon and take a snooze or whatever. But the saying "the early bird gets the worm" is very true when you're at Disney World, because you're going to beat majority of the crowds in the park. You can accomplish quite a bit early in the morning before the throngs of people come filing into all the parks.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good point. You don't have to be in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I don't think you want to be getting in there after 12 o'clock every day.
No, definitely not.
Especially that the parks aren't open as late as they used to be. Because only, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, especially during the summer, the parks were open till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, 11, maybe 12 on a good day it'll be open till. So you don't have as many hours, and you do need to get in there early enough so you can start hitting some of the attractions. I mean, if you're there before the park opens, you can knock off 1, maybe 2 headliners without using a fast pass. So like you said, early bird gets the worm. I mean, there's people that'll get there an hour early and just wait for the park to open.
Yeah, I'm doing good if I'm there at rope drop. I can't see getting there that early. I guess another thing would be is taking advantage if they have the what's the thing now where you buy the hard ticket and get in a couple hours early. And
the after hours events.
Yeah. If you were to do that, but getting in before the park opens, that's tough, especially if you have a large group that you're with, or you have a couple of people that want to try and sleep in a little bit. You kind of have to be somewhat flexible. So getting there, I think, like you said, by 10 is a pretty good goal to try to accomplish and still be able to avoid most of the crowds.
I agree. That's I think 10's a good time. I think typically we're usually about a half hour, 45 minutes after the park opens on average. Sometimes we're there when park opens, but it's usually about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, we shoot for rope drop and we normally get there about 10. So.
Right. One major thing is, I think, that you have to do as a parent is that I don't think that you should force your kids to see a character.
Yes.
Because it can be, especially if you have young kids, they could be terrorized for life if you're going to force them to go up to Mickey Mouse. I mean, Kelsey was sort of like that, where she would not go up to a character at all, especially like Mickey or Minnie. She was a little bit better with the princesses as she got a little bit older, but when she was younger, we have to like hold her away from the characters. She will not get close to them.
Yeah, I'm still scarred from when I had to go stand next to Jiminy Cricket in January, that my wife wouldn't let me leave without taking a picture with him. So,
well, Jiminy can be scary.
He's green.
Well, he's like vomit.
Yeah, it's definitely a puke green. But I mean, and that can also be taken into consideration if you're going to do a character dining. Now, you can let the cast member know that's walking around with the character to kind of bypass the table, but that's another thing to take into consideration. You don't want to walk in the door like we did at what's the one in Hollywood Studios?
Hollywood and Vine?
Yes. We walked in there and my kids didn't mind, but as we walk in, I think Donald was walking by. So if you got that kid that's just completely terrorized of characters and that happens to you, you're probably going to have a hard time getting them to stay in the restaurant to eat dinner that day.
Right. Yeah, true. What else you got?
One thing that is kind of a double-edged sword. Don't depend on Disney transportation.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, yes, when you get down there and you don't have a car, you have to rely on them, but have a backup plan. So, just for example, we decided on our last day, we were going to go to Disney Springs before we headed to the airport, and we got Disney Springs. We knew what time we had to leave, and we get to catch the bus, and 45 minutes later the bus comes after the little screen said it was going to be there. I can't remember, noonish or whatever. So we ended up, once we got back to the resort, we had to call an Uber or a cab or something like that, and that's not a cheap thing to do. We probably would have been better off getting an Uber from Springs to our resort as opposed to from our resort to the hotel, because I want to say that was like $70 or $80 to get us to the airport.
Wow.
So we can catch our flight and everything. So just have that backup plan in place, so if you get into some type of time constraint, you can go ahead and act on it and not be handcuffed and feel like, oh, hopefully we'll make it, and then try to figure out what you're going to do when you can't make it.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I have been taking advantage of using Uber more and more in the parks, and especially really more when I'm at Disney Springs, just because it's a long walk just to get to the bus, and there's no guarantee of how long it's going to take, and the walk to the Uber spot's almost just as long. And at least you'll know that you're going to get back to your room, in 15 minutes. Your Uber will be there. Just going to hop in. It's going to take you to the room, so you don't have to wait around. So, you just want to know that. And then sometimes, like, you're at the resort, and like you said, it says, 5 minutes going to be here, and here of 5 minutes turns into 20 minutes, and you're still not there. You're losing valuable park time. So sometimes you just want to bite the bullet and jump on that Uber and spend whatever it's going to be to get there. Yeah,
Uber, taxi cab. I mean, I know some people will rent a car just for a backup plan. I mean, to me, that's
right.
It's a little excessive, because rental cars aren't exactly cheap.
No.
But just to have that peace of mind that if the buses doesn't work, we do have this backup plan so that you can take off. And I know a lot of people that just refuse to use the buses. They'll use any other means necessary before they rely on getting on a bus.
Right. Another thing that I think you have to do is that you have to be aware that not all attractions are suitable for everybody of all ages. One of those is that is when Stitch was around. Stitch could scare some people, more so Alien Encounter, but back in the day, Alien Encounter would scare young kids. And still the same thing can happen when you take a kid. Just thinking, I think Tower of Terror is 42 inches to ride, I believe. So just because your kid is 42 inches doesn't mean that they're going to be able to emotionally handle that attraction. It can be a little bit scary. You're going into the dark, and all of a sudden you're going up an elevator and it drops, and you're in complete darkness. So just don't think just because your kid is tall enough to ride something that it's appropriate for them.
Yeah, we did that with my youngest brother, actually. We went down, and he'd gotten on Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, all these others, so we just strolled right into Hollywood Studios, right up to Tower of Terror, and jumped on with him in tow, and didn't even realize, this kid has no idea what falling 13 floors is actually going to be like. And we got off the attraction, and he was just frozen stiff. My mom said she reached over to make sure he was okay, and she said it felt like a jackhammer was getting ready to come out of his chest.
Geez.
So yeah, just kind of, they have things up kind of describing the ride and everything. So just kind of, breeze through those and make sure that, okay, yeah, he's done this, he does done this, or if he hasn't, kind of maybe, prep them or see how they would feel, or just read the reactions. There's so many families you see, they get down there and they're dragging kids kicking and screaming on rides. You're like, I paid for this, you're getting on this ride.
I know, you hear that a lot, don't you?
Yeah, you're causing more damage than anything.
Yeah, I feel bad I understand the parents' viewpoint. I get it, because Disney is not cheap, and you're spending literally $100 a day just to get into the park, so I understand that. But you really cannot force your kid to do that, because it's just not going to work out in the end.
Well, and it just ends up, each ride after that, they're already terrorized, so it's just going to be harder and harder to get them to trust you to get onto something that this is not bad, you'll be okay, and then
right.
you've already thrown that out the window.
Yeah, good point.
So the last thing that I can really think of is, and this actually goes for people that haven't been yet, people that have been many, many times, but don't get fixated and focused on one thing. Make sure you take everything in, because the parks are so well done from top to bottom, wall to wall. There's so many things to see and do. Take pictures of stuff. There's so many things that are, it's a mention of a certain movie or of a certain person. And, just for instance, the Main Street windows. I mean, there's so much history just on those that you can learn quite a bit of not just Disney history, but about these people that, put their blood, sweat, and tears into all these parks and everything. So, look up and look down and look all around, and, just take everything in, and not just, I'm fixated on this next ride or where we're going to go eat or what, the next thing on the agenda is.
That's a good point. I mean, that's basically like stop and smell the roses, and don't take anything around you for granted, because yes, it's a theme park. Yes, it has attractions, but what you don't realize is that, especially when you walk into the Magic Kingdom, that Main Street USA is an attraction unto itself.
Yeah.
There's so much going on there. There's so much to see. There's character interaction going on. Just take the time and don't rush to walk through there. It's not a mall per se, like of just shops. It goes beyond that. Look around. Look at the smaller details and try to appreciate the artists that have built this incredible place for you to come visit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it wasn't till, I don't know, maybe within the last couple of years, I never knew that the way Main Street was set up, that Walt designed it to be like you were quote unquote walking into a movie, with the the gradual progression and the credits rolling with the names and everything, and then you get the big reveal with the castle. So that in itself is just, to me, it's amazing, the thought and the detail that goes into the different parks and the designs and layouts and everything.
Yeah, it's true. The last thing I just want to mention would be that, like, if you do plan to stay off site, I mean, it's very convenient to stay on site in Disney, but we all know that the prices are getting really, really out of hand, or out of touch, maybe per se. But if you're staying off site, make sure you choose a place that is fairly close to Walt Disney World. You don't want to be doing a 45-minute hour ride to get to the Magic Kingdom, whatever park it is, because you have to realize that, especially somebody who's not used to all that walking, you could end up walking 10-15 miles per day. And if you're not used to doing that, because the average person probably walks 2, maybe 3 miles per day, which isn't really a whole lot. So if you're not used to that, and then you have an hour ride home, your legs are not going to be happy that ride home or the next day.
Yeah, I mean, just for example, I mean, I knew what we were getting ourselves into, but last year when we went and stayed at Vero Beach, and we drove up to Hollywood Studios for the day just to see Toy Story Land. And I knew what was waiting for us, because it was middle of July, so crowds were up, heat was up. It was, I think it's right at a 2-hour drive. And I knew coming home that was going to be probably the longest 2 hours.
Right.
Because, I mean, again, it's, the middle of Florida. There's not a whole lot of scenery between Orlando and Vero Beach. So it wasn't horrible, but it was a lot worse than what I probably would have, originally willingly signed up for.
Right.
So I couldn't imagine, 2 hours. I don't think a lot of people would be staying that far and trying to commute back and forth, multiple days.
Right.
But, having to do half the distance or whatever and do that consistently for 3 or 4 days, you would be dreading each day by the time you get to lunchtime, because you just know what's looming at the end of the day waiting for you.
Right, yeah. All right, so I think that's going to do it for this week. Anything else?
The only other thing I can think of is don't go pushing buttons on the CM's podium, and don't punch him in the face when you don't have a fast pass.
Oh gosh, yeah, do not do that. Not a good idea.
Or fight with your family in the middle of Disneyland.
Yeah, that either. That's, yeah. Behave, you know, be a good person. Pay it forward. Buy somebody a Coke. All right. So we want to thank our sponsors, Kingdom Strollers. Get your premium stroller and crib rentals at kingdomstrollers.com. Let the vacation experts at mousepros.com help plan your next perfect Disney vacation. Don't forget to check out our store at redbubble.com/Tiki Talk Podcast. You can connect with us. You can connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook and Channel Tiki Talk, Instagram and Twitter at Tiki Talk Podcast. You can leave us a message on the Tiki Talk hotline at 2564-MY-TIKI. That's 256-469-8454. If you enjoy the show, please take the time to rate us on iTunes. You can find me on Twitter at OneDisneyDream. That's one MIN Disney Dream. MouseWorldVacations.com. You can find Keith somewhere.
Over the rainbow.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter at Matt Goes Dopey and Instagram at mholly579.
All right. So that's it for this week. Alan, take it away.
Thanks for listening this week. For Sean and Keith, I'm Alan, and this has been Enchanted Tiki Talk. Aloha.
Enchanted Tiki Talk has been brought to you by mousepros.com. Let us plan your perfect Disney vacation. And by kingdomstrollers.com for all your premium stroller and crib rental needs. For all of us here, I'm David Benter. Thanks for listening to Enchanted Tiki Talk.